Sociologist and law professor Dorothy Roberts explains what descent-based slavery actually meant in the Americas.
The short word is breeding.
Yes.
But breeding human beings like livestock.
Yes, and I'll read a quote from her book, right? So Virginia decides that enslaved black women give birth to enslavable children, even if those children are white. And she writes, that law allowed white men to profit from their sexual assaults on black women. Freed from the worry that their mixed-race offspring had any legal claim to freedom, white men could rape enslaved women with total impunity, maintaining their domination while increasing their wealth. Their control over black women's bodies was key to creating a permanent labor supply.
That's right.
That reality has no place in the civics training. What does this mean? Practically speaking?
I mean, practically speaking, it is a mechanism by which lies can be given the cloak of truth. And so if we want to go back to that document about there only being 4% of the people brought in the transatlantic slave trade to the North American colonies, that's technically true. What they don't talk about is the fact that the British were late to the transatlantic slave trade. And so when we talk about 1619 and the 1619 project, that's more than a century after people, particularly the Spanish and the Portuguese, had been bringing enslaved people to Brazil, had been bringing them to the Caribbean, had been bringing them throughout South America. That's why there were fewer. And so when you get to the other part about the descent-based slavery versus trafficking and kidnapping people, that is motivated by the small thing called the Haitian Revolution, which sent shockwaves throughout the slaveholding world, where Haiti, this island, which was overwhelmingly populated by enslaved black people, launched a revolution and overthrew their French overseers. And this terrified slaveholders throughout the West. And so you began to see a push to say that there needed to be an abolition, not of slavery, but specifically an abolition of the transatlantic slave trade.
Yes. Because
places like South Carolina already had a majority black population. There were more black people in South Carolina than there were white people in South Carolina. This made people paranoid. And so they ended the transatlantic slave trade and then continued to keep people enslaved and through the process of reproduction, which led to people being bred like livestock, as I said earlier. And so they are using a cloak of humanity to disguise utter inhumanity.